prior, we were talking about RSI and the MACD as well as the moving average. So now I'm going to kind of just real quickly, briefly explain what those two are, and then add kind of the final technical analysis for right now to let everything sink in, and then maybe you can even start paper trading or yeah, I guess paper trade, or just watch and see if you would make a play. Maybe a day trade, maybe it would be more longer term, that's up to you. But so just kind of going back, let's just talk about what the SMA is. So again, the SMA is just the simple moving average. And again, that's just the average of a stock price over a given time, okay? The next thing that I talked about was RSI, which that was relative strength index. Oops. And that's just a percentage of bulls versus bears, and when things are overbought and oversold, it's listed as a percentage. And I'll show you these examples in a second. Okay, so this is in one of our older videos. So if you don't know what these are, and if it's your first time here, you can look at the previous videos to take a look. And then also we have the MACD, which is the moving average, convergence, divergence, and that measures where the stock is going and when is there a reversal. Okay, so and I'll show those in a little bit, but the next thing I kind of want to talk about is what a Fibonacci retracement is, and what is it. So for all you math nerds out there, and I know I'm saying that a lot these days, that is basically your golden ratio, and you also kind of look at Pascal's triangle. So if you remember back from your elementary algebra, pull up my things. If you remember Pascal's triangle, it'd be like 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. Where am I getting these? These will always be ones, but then what you get for the middle, you would add these two together, so you get 1, 2, 1, and then you would also then continue the triangle and just continue forward, 1, 2, blah, 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 blah. And I won't go into the math lesson, but I'll just kind of talk about what the retracement is and how we can use it. Let me just erase this. Okay, so what we use it for day trading, or for trading it for that perspective, is it will measure specific price points, and it will determine if it's a buy or sell based on the mathematical formula. Okay, so that's just kind of, and I'm really just giving a very simplistic definition and how I would explain it if someone were to say, oh, hey, Chris, could you explain this in a non-math term? It's just basically, it's a golden ratio, which if you've heard about that, you've seen maybe spirals on seashells, and I could continue to go on to this lesson and we could do more math, but let me just show you exactly what this will mean. And again, I will go over these because I'm going to combine what we talked about and then move forward. And just give me one moment while I get that. Am I still live? I'm just making sure.
Yes, you're still live.
Oh, okay, all right, because I was having internet issues earlier, so just making sure. Okay, so again, this is using Thinkorswim. You can do it on Charles Schwab. I can show you on that. If you have any questions, you can DM me. I know you can do this on a lot of other platforms. I use it specifically on Multicharts. That's more of it's a software that you purchase. But Fibonacci retracements, it's nothing new in the stock world, and a lot of people truly believe that it works and it helps, and it works. And again, nothing's guaranteed. There's always things that can happen. So right now I have, and this is live, a live feed, and I'm actually watching this as well. So if I do see something, I may have to initiate a day trade on the futures. But this is the E-mini NASDAQ futures. So again, this trades basically 24 hours with a break between 3 and 4 p.m. our time. So kind of again, if you remember, I'm on the 5-minute chart. So again, that means each candlestick, so if I kind of zoom in, if it says 5M and it's a lowercase m, that means minutes. That means each one of these candlesticks is going to be 5 minutes. Okay. Now, we don't have to think about, when we look at the charts, if you recall, the SMA, the MACD, and the RSI, those all had a length period. So if the length was 14, and I have a 5-minute chart, 5 times 14, you guessed it, that would be 70 minutes of data that would be incorporated. So when we look at this, there's 2 ways you can do this. Well, there's actually a multitude of ways you can do it, but I like to look at 2 of them. One is, are you going to day trade, or are you going to maybe analyze something more longer term? So I'm going to just do a day trade for right now. So if I'm going to day trade something, now this doesn't always work, but it generally follows the rules. So one of the earlier ones we talked about drawing trend lines. So a Fibonacci retracement can really help with creating trend lines. So it can also create trend lines for price points. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and again, it's a whole bunch of different brokers. So how you acquire the Fibonacci retracement, like how you draw it, that you may have to do some kind of finessing with and see. But for me, on Thinkorswim, you click on the drawings, you hover to drawing tools. So looking for something that says drawing tools will help you find it on another broker. And you look for this percentage. Okay, and you're probably thinking, why is that a percentage? Well, the percentage points, when you look at the golden ratios or the percentages, because ratios are technically percentages, that's why they talk about ratios and whatnot. But we won't go into the math behind that. So what I do is I click that, and now it turns into a little crayon or drawing. So to day trade something, I look at that historic data or archival data from the previous day's high and low, and I'll type that out. So if I'm on the 5-minute chart, yeah, you don't have to go all the way back, but I'm roughly looking at 24 hours of data, and you can choose any point you want. I mean, you can even just draw like from here to here, and you'll see what's going to happen in a second. But I'm just going to take the highest. So I'm going to find my highest point. Okay, my highest point was right here, it looks like, maybe right there. Again, you don't have to be, Leonardo da Vinci or Picasso and be completely precise. But then you'll just click, and I always start from high to low. You can do reversal or the reverse. It's just everything's going to be inverted. I don't know why the program does that, but that could just be if you short something compared to going long. And then I'm going to find the lowest price point. So I see here, okay, I see here, or I see there. So yeah, let's just do there. We'll just click that. Now mine is different, and I'll explain that on how to fix that. So you see this line. So this dotted line, this is just basically showing your slope or your highest to your lowest point. And what I do is if you right click on any part of the line that you drew, and click Edit Properties, you'll see these coefficients. These are your percentages. So if you want to have, if you want to click all these, that's totally fine. It's up to you. It's in zeros because if you remember back in math, 0.23 means 23%. 1 means 100%. So any decimal you multiply by 100 and you get the percentage point, and you can change your colors. So for me, I set 23% at green, 38% at green, 0.5 at yellow, and then I have kind of a pinkish red for 0.618, then it's red all out. So if you do this without modifying it, these will all be red. But I like to see this so then I can kind of figure out, okay, I can see where things are going. and then I click OK. All right, so what is all this right here? So basically, these create what are called different zones. So I put kind of in the middle between 50 and 61%, and I'll type this. I just want to show you the graph first so you can get an understanding. But this will show you kind of, okay, if it's down in these two areas, this kind of means it's in a low point, and it may be recommended to go long on this position or on this, but this isn't a stock, this would be a futures. And then once it starts hitting up to the red, that would kind of show what its resistance. So if you remember on one of the previous episodes, support would be where things have sold off enough to where, you know, it's a good buy-in compared to when it may be a good sell-off. So when you look at the highest to the lowest point for this, and again, this is just for the day trade, but it still can be applied to a year, 2 years, however you want to apply it. But this can give me zones on where I think, okay, this can kind of help me determine where things are going. So if you even see, let me go to the little thing. So if you even see, I drew my archival data from roughly at 3 a.m. this morning to about near close. So this would be what, 2 p.m. our time. But you can kind of see right here that that's a zone, and this is a zone. Now it doesn't follow it 100%, but even look, I drew that for the day. I did the highest and the lowest, and see how these candlesticks, they kind of approach that for a long time. Now, does that mean, now you can see this one's kind of moving on its own right now. Does that mean this is just going to hit this and go down? No, that doesn't mean that. But it can give you an idea, because I know since 16, so that would be what, since 4 p.m., this is kind of hit around that. So that may be a good idea. So again, if you wanted to look at your trend lines, I still see it. I'm just looking at just this kind of data right here. So I'm looking at today, and this is going on right now. But I can kind of see my resistance is truly right here, even though on the Fibonacci sequence it says right here. Now, again, these percentages, you can just, I wish you could rename them, but I don't know how to do that with the Thinkorswim. But basically, these are just showing the ratios of what the golden rule would be, and it's a mathematical equation. So it takes kind of the data and then it applies it to that. So you can kind of say this would be my support level, and as of right now, this is a resistance level. Now, if this candlestick were to pass this, you could now say that this part right here is now your new resistance. But we don't know that because, again, nothing's guaranteed. So let me drop that. Let me actually do this. Then let's do here. So this could be resistance 1. This could be resistance 2. Generally, 50% would be a medium. So that would mean if something passes that could still be a resistance point. It could be a support point, but that's kind of when, okay, things are neutral. I may not want to go into that unless I'm confident and I can use other technical indicators to see what's going on. So I would just call this a medium. Now, other people can disagree with me. That's fine. It's really however you draw it. Because you can do different data points, because you can say, okay, this was the highs for overnight, so that may not be accurate compared to if you look during the day, because from here this is the day. So how you want to draw it, that's different. That's up to you. So you have your own discretion. But if you're looking at futures, because futures do trade overnight, it is cool to see kind of a true resistance at the night to kind of get a basis. Okay, well, this is where it hit, at 3 a.m. our time, and this was the low at basically closing, and then kind of seeing how there was till 3, then it went to 4 p.m. because there's a futures cutoff or break for 1 hour. Kind of before I go into a little bit more, are there any questions on just the basic Fibonacci retracement or anything in that point, that respect?
We're good. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So
Okay, this is a little bit more of an advanced topic, especially if you're new to drawing on your charts and looking at them. It can take a little bit. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. Schwab does have this. So if you were to log on to Street Smart Edge and you go to the draw tools, it does have a Fibonacci sequence or retracement. And I still do believe it is the percentage. I can double check and I can look at it in a little bit. So, okay, so kind of going back over everything. So for me, when you're day trading something or doing something, within a 5-minute or an hour time span, you may have to redraw these because some things can happen. All right, well, what do you mean by that? Okay, so let me actually erase all this. So again, when you draw these, it's up to you how you want to draw them. You can ignore certain extremities. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I kind of go back, so now I'm going back to, now if I were to look at Sunday to today, so this would be right here. This was the true high, or wait, was that the true high? It was the true high. Okay, so this was my true high for Sunday. So again, however you draw this, that is completely up to you. So if you want more of a broader thing, so remember, it's kind of like if you do a 5-minute, we're doing a microscope, but if we want to do a telescope and look at the bigger picture, we can do that as well. So if I look at, get rid of that. Oh, I guess I can't. So if I want to look at my true high now, so I'm going back, what day is this? So if I want to go back a month, we can still do that too. It's just our zones are going to be different. So if I took my high and then kind of went down to my super low down here, look how it changed. So I was looking at originally, let me go to drawings. So now with Thinkorswim and with other tools, I'm still on the Fibonacci tool. I have to go back to my drawings and then go back to my pointer to go back so I can zoom in and out. So when I did going back out a month, and then I look back even to Sunday, look what happened. It hit new zones. So you can still disregard, or you don't have to really pay attention to this percentage point right here. You could just use them as different zones. And if you remember, I talked about different zones because you would see, okay, where would a good resistance be? Where would a support be? And I mixed up resistance. I just corrected myself. But you can see now, again, I looked at archival data to not even look at the new data, because I looked at data back from Friday at 7 a.m. all the way back to Wednesday at 6 a.m. And that was on November 25th. So you can see it followed it followed closely. Now, will it always be like this? No, not really, because see, you can see there's a wick right here. There's still a wick right here, but it generally followed a close pattern. So how can you use this? Okay, well, if I look at a month's worth of data, and I said, these two, and so I said resistance, so I apologize. I meant these as support zones, meaning these would be buy zones, and then these would be sell zones or to go short. So, but if I look at, so now I'm zooming in, so I'm kind of going into more of a microscope. This goes into Monday, so this is Monday of the 20th. So, and I forget what this was the COVID scare. So this is what happened, and this was really cool for all of your Planetarians. No, I'm kidding. It's Palantir. This is when Palantir was down to maybe $24, and a lot of other stocks. Basically, there was a major sell-off. Everyone was converting to cash right here. So when you see these two right here, and again, this is 1 hour. So within 2 hours, for the NASDAQ at least, it dropped huge amounts. But it still showed you a support. So a true support, you could say, is really right here, but our Fibonacci sequences are showing, okay, this is a zone. So it was trading, and this was the trading of the fear until people got a little bit more reassured that, the strain, yes, it's more contagious. So this was the news right here. And then, this was the fear. Then it was like, okay, we're starting to figure it out. Scared again. And then, Fauci and some other medical scientists were saying, hey, yes, COVID-19 is very serious. It's a new strain, but hey, guess what? Viruses mutate all the time, just like H1N1. H and N have a certain meaning, so there's different characteristics. So there could be an H2N4, or COVID-19 means novel coronavirus -19. So there is a novel coronavirus -18, 17, things like that. And then there's hybrids within those. So that's kind of where I'm going at with putting some sentiment to why there could be different zones. So if you even want to go even further, you can even zoom back and go out to a day or even weeks, and then you can draw your Fibonacci sequences. So the data that I'm seeing right now, so this is 1 month of data. It's showing this, we're at a high support zone or a resistance, meaning, there could be a sell-off. But again, I may not have drawn these correctly. And so that's why when you draw these, you have to look at, well, what's the current sentiment? So that's why if you want to zoom further back and look at a microscope compared to a telescope compared to a microscope, that's how you want to look at things. Because look, I just went out now, so I'm looking at the weekly. So this now is going back to 2018, January 1st, 2018. Well, if I were to draw my fib sequence, and I can draw another one. So if I did my all-time high to my all-time low, that's completely different. So you would technically say this is completely overbought, but that's not how it works. So when you're doing when you're drawing these Fibonacci retracements, just like with your zones before, or your RSI, you have to kind of look at, okay, what time frame do I want to look at? And then from there, how do I want to go ahead and proceed? Because it's saying right here, I need to buy when the NASDAQ's at 5820. Well, the NASDAQ right now is at 12,000, and it's been going strong for 2 years. This was red October. Oh no, this is the February scare. That's right. And then where was the October? Yeah. So how you draw them, it's up to you. Okay. Any questions so far? Oh, so Tiffany asks, how do you make the judgment for what time frame to look at? That's up to you. There's not a magic rule. I wish there was. I mean, if there was, then everyone would be millionaires, because then everyone would know exactly what to do. But that's not how the stock market works. If that were the case, the stock market would technically just be a line going left to right, be a horizontal line. So different people interpret things differently on what time frame. But if you really want to look at, maybe I would say, if you're doing long-term investment, well, think about it this way. How long do you want to hold on to your stock for? If it's going to be 6 months, maybe look at 6 months of data. If you think you're going to maybe hold it for a month, maybe just look at 1 month of data. And maybe, so you can do 1 hour, 20 days. So if I think I'm going to hold something for 20 days and make money, maybe start from there. Let me go to a stock and see if we can find something. Ken, think of a stock that we can look at. What was one of them in the newsletters?
I've been tracking Mara and Riot a lot lately, so.
All right, so let's look at Riot.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking, and so now Riot blockchain, is that crypto?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if I look at, so I'm going to do the 1 hour, because that's going to be 20 days of data. Now, could I hold this for more than 20 days? Sure, but that can give me an idea of what's going on. So I'm still on my drawing tool of the little percentage point. So I'm going to draw it right here. So, okay, I can kind of see, let me get rid of this drawing. So now, is it kind of matching the fib sequence? Slightly. There was a giant gain, and then you can see it still kind of hovers around on this 23% support. So you could call this support 1, support 2, medium, resistance 1, resistance 2, resistance 3. Now, if it just keeps going up, it's obviously on a trend. So that's why if you look over here, it tested it, but then for a long time, so for 5 days, it broke that resistance, and now it's kind of trading within this zone right here. So if I'm looking at Riot, okay, now again, just using this one isn't going to be the end all to know what stocks to choose. But looking at this, it's slowly going past this line. So what I would say, and this is just entirely from technical analysis only, not knowing anything about the company, not knowing on how awesome they are or not awesome, or knowing crypto, but this broke this zone a couple of times, and this is from today. So if I were to look back into this, okay, so it seems like there was some trading. So this was the hype for this week. Huge hype yesterday. Hit a peak, and this was in the morning. So right at 2 o'clock, someone bought it at $15.99. But then it slowly started hitting down to this resistance line, or this zone support, and it tested it a couple of times, but now it broke down. So how would I view this? I would say this could be the new zone for tomorrow, but tomorrow's Christmas Eve, so we only have until, I think it's noon, so it would be 10 a.m. our time. So we have to kind of look, and again, that's again with technical analysis, you're not taking into account, it's a holiday season, there's COVID going on, so you have to put all those things into play when you're looking at that. So again, going back to the question was, how far back should you look at stuff? I would say, and again, you don't have to do the super high to the super low. You can choose a midpoint. That's funny.
Yeah.
But I choose the highest and the lowest just to get general better ideas of what are, and it's about 70-80%. What are computers willing to pay versus what you're willing to pay versus what computers are willing to sell at versus what you're willing to sell at.
Yeah, and Chris, I'll even chime in since I'm kind of passionate about trading Riot and Mara right now at this point, given that I believe that we're going to see a lot of volatility within the crypto market, which is going to play a lot within Riot and Mara. So personally, whenever I trade, I typically like to look daily all the way down to hourly charts. So that's just my personal preference. And I usually start at the daily and then work my way down. In that case, I look at the daily first because I have an idea of the overall trend. It removes a lot of the noise. And then I kind of break it down all the way down to the hourly. And that's where I draw my Fibonacci charts, is on the hourly. I use other indicators as well. And I typically like to look at this for a good swing trade, but this kind of helps me as far as determine what is a good buy time, as far as, because I don't want to just buy, say, on, say, Tuesday, but I want to know, get a rough idea of when I can be able to buy it. And having the hourly chart will help me determine that. So,
Right. Yeah. So actually, let me. So if I remove this drawing, and let's say you looked at you had a good feeling that Riot may explode Wednesday of the 16th, and I were to draw that at that time, the Fibonacci sequences will still roughly match what I was doing. So if let's just say Wednesday, so you don't trade after hours, so I knew that the top was right up here, and I knew the low was down here. It still matched it. Now, it's a new zone, though. If you see, it's 161.8%. So if you see, it actually does still match this, and this is on the hourly zone. So you can see it started to play with it. Okay, it went to a new zone, and then it zoned out, no pun intended. But then it went back into this zone for a little bit. Then there was a huge breakout yesterday, went past it, and now it's still in this larger zone. So the higher up your percentages are, the larger your zone's going to be. So that's when, again, like you're saying, you go to the 1 day and then go into the 1 hour to then figure out. So if and I don't know how to do this just yet. If you edit your properties, I know that there's a way to have different colors, and then that can help you better, because then you can say, okay, this is like a new support and a new resistance. But then if I want to look at just the 2 days, I have new data. So a more popular style that I was, and again, I don't know if you guys know, all the indicators and the drawings that I show you, I day trade the NASDAQ on, or on S&P. And actually I did the Russell a little bit earlier. But again, I've had more experience, so I can also see different patterns as well. But I was using this, and it helps, because then you don't have to look at things. You can also figure out, okay, what should I do a stop loss at? What should I maybe be an entry point to, maybe even just set a limit to either buy or sell, whether or not you want to short something. So that's nice. Now, to kind of tie things in back, if I add my other studies, so again, simple moving average, that I'm going to put that in, and then I'm going to do RSI, and I'm also going to do MACD. Okay. Now, again, remember the first for at least simple moving average and RSI, 9 means that's going to show nine candlesticks. So since I'm on the hourly, this is 9 hours of data. This is going to be 14 hours of data, and the MACD would be 12 and then 26, because the MACD looks at a shorter term versus a longer term. And then it does the 9 on that. I didn't really explain it too well, but that you don't really need to look at too precisely just yet, until you get a feeling for it. So if I apply all these together, you now have a better understanding. So from a tech standpoint only. Now, again, I show volume because I like to see how much people have bought and sold. So you don't have to have this, but it's helpful. But what can I see? So from a technical standpoint, if I were to look at Riot right now, and without knowing anything at all about crypto or about this company, and I look at this, okay, so what do I see? Okay, well, it's moving downwards. So that could be a potential that I may want to sell. We have not gone over boiler bands. My RSI is at 48%, so that is signaling a bearish trend. Also, my MACD, it crossed at this point. So this is still showing, this is showing that it is on a downtrend. So just from technical analysis, if I were to look at this, I can now look at my Fibonacci sequence. So now again, this was a point that I drew on that Wednesday. And if I want to just still watch it and be like, okay, I'll watch it. Oh, good thing I didn't short because look what happened. It was huge. So maybe I might want to short at this $15.24 mark. Okay, well, maybe I did right here. Maybe I did it today or yesterday. Uh-oh, it went up, because it's still going up. But I wouldn't have done that because I would still look at my charts. So again, when you're using technical analysis, you use them in all conjunction to kind of figure out, okay, what's the direction of something? What's my RSI at? What's the MACD? Now, would all these match? No. I mean, when all those match, that's good. That I would definitely, on a technical standpoint, do that. So how I would play this is I would set an alert on my boiler band for these zones. So these specific price points, all of them. Why is that? Because I want to know what's going on. Now, this is if you're just day trading or just even looking at just one stock. But if I look at this, I would set an alert for Riot at $15.24. Okay, it alerted me. So what I would do is now look at this and say, okay, what's going on with this? So I'm gonna erase all this. So if I got that alert, so this would be if you right click, and you can set alerts up with other brokers, but if I did this one and I click create alert, and if I put Riot, if it goes at or above 15, now I just clicked somewhere so it went to that, but it says what, 1524, and I create that. So if this stock hits that, so let's just say the alert went off and it was right here. Oops. And it was right here. Oops. Why is that? Oh, that's why. Come on. Oh, okay. So if it was right there, let's take a look. What would I do? Okay, this is still looking upwards. My RSI. Okay, that's something that's interesting. Oops. Because that's in the red, which means this is considered overbought. Now, could it mean that it's having a new trend? Yeah, it could still keep going up, as I've shown you in previous examples from other times. And look at my MACD. Okay, so my MACD is still showing everything's upwards, but I'm keeping an eye on this because I may want to short this, or I may want to go long. So again, that's what these are here for, is they're just to help you make a decision and more of an informed guess on where things are going. So I keep looking at it. So maybe I'll set an alert when it drops back down because it keeps, and it went back down. Because I would not do that because this is showing strong trend at this time. It's still going upwards.
I live in Canada.
This is still RSI up here, and the MACD is still showing this. Now, okay, this went downwards. Oh, look. RSI went past that. This is now sideways at this time. So this is this is now where you go into, okay, well, what are the fundamentals of the company? What's the sentiment? Is everyone scared of something about this company? Are their financials good or are they bad? I now have another signal right here where it crossed. So that's kind of like the next hour. This would be the point to short. Now, again, could this have completely went upwards? Yes. And I'm looking at past data to kind of look back at this. So these things are still forming. So if you remember, I'm saying that these are candlesticks, so they're still molding. So it's up to you on determining, okay, do I want to short or do I want to continue to go long? That's up to you. Do you want me to go over another stock just to kind of see something else? So you said Mara.
Mara's going to.
Or Mara.
Very similar to Riot, so that they would be looking at the same stock, which is a different ticker. Look at ACB, was something that came in the chat.
Okay. Racer. So the one thing is with your technical indicators, they will always be there. You still have to draw your boiler bands. I'm sorry, your Fibonacci sequence. Oh, it's looking at chat. I do that. I read what I say sometimes. um, so so again, how long are you going to hold the stock for? Okay, let's look at 20. Let's look at the hourly, like you said, and then we can even zoom back and look at the hour or the daily. So I'm just looking at just this amount of data right here. So if I looked at ACB from a technical standpoint, and I know about what ACB is, so I know there's a lot of hype on this with these stocks, and especially with lockdowns, people get bored. So, people may go to do some depending on your state or county, some legal or illegal activities, and some other stuff, the legalization. So if I were just to look at a standpoint, okay, these would be some alerts, some areas that I want to see. Now, did it go below this? Yes, it did for a little bit, but then it showed me what a true what the highest point, at least for the last 20 days, what a computer or a person will pay for, and then what the lowest will pay for. So at a technical standpoint, this is on my lowest support. But let me go back and take a look and see what's going on in the 1 year. Uh-oh, I see something else. So again, I went to my telescope, not my microscope. So the telescope is showing a slope going downwards. Oops. It's showing a slope going downwards. It's showing, if I go back, if I zoom out, this is actually way higher up if I were to redraw my fib sequence. But if you maybe want to do a couple days worth of a trade, it may be worthwhile. But looking at the day chart, RSI peaked right here, so that's what I kind of wanted to look at. That's what I would look at. This is still going upwards. So I would say no. If you just trade off of RSI, yeah, you can make money off of that just by going off of that. But you just have to set your profit targets, because otherwise you may either get you may lose money. So, but I see right here, MACD crossed right there. This is still slightly going downwards, this RSI, and this is going downwards. So, technical standpoint, I'd probably not want to touch it. However, knowing what's going on right now, we may want to look at the hourly, because this can change. So, if I were to actually go back, screen is weird. I'm streaming 1080. How's it look on your side, Ken?
Yeah, it looks good, pretty good from here. So
okay.
I don't see any problems with it.
Okay, so using all this stuff, what do I see? Okay, I'm looking at the 1 hour. I see a trend going upwards, just on the moving average. It's still 58, so it's kind of going in between, kind of like, I'm not sure where I want to go. And then if I look right here, even though it's not completed yet, this is now starting to curve downwards, and this is starting to curve to create a cross point. This may be a point to short. However, we don't know. Would I go into this stock right now? I would have to do more research on the cannabis stuff that's going on, because I don't follow that, to be honest. But I would say I would not want to look at this stock, only because this is about to cross. This is still up there. This is showing it's going to go upwards. My fib sequence for the last 20 days, this is showing I should buy this, just from the fib sequence and the moving average. Also, just because this is at 58, yeah, this may be a buy. It's still going upwards. So I personally wouldn't touch it, but that's not a recommendation. I just don't know much about the stock. But technical standpoint, yeah, go long on this. Maybe buy a call or two, see what happens, because this is at the bottom part of your bottom support. This is kind of showing a bearish trend. MACD is still showing it's going upwards. But again, this is just for today because there was a rally today. I saw someone want me to go over PLTR. I'll go over that because I'm going to redo this lesson next week. But I'm going to go over the same stuff. So I'll go over PLTR that time. So with that, because I know we're at 7 o'clock, do we want to go over maybe 5-10 minutes of questions, just looking at stuff, maybe a different stock that I could just look at?
Yeah, sure. So if anyone has any questions, by all means, throw it up in the chat, and let's just keep it a little bit open format, and we'll try to answer a few more questions the next few minutes.
So if you guys have, if you want me to look at a stock, and this is just technical standpoint only, I don't know anything. And again, if you guys don't know, I mainly just trade the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. So it's a whole different ball game with stocks compared to futures. It's a lot more risky. So someone says TAK, T-A-K.
Yeah.
Oh, oops. Okay, so Takeda Pharmaceutical. So I'm just going to look. So this, I'm just going to go with the 1 hour and just kind of see where it's going from the last 20 days. Let me erase that part. Okay, so what I see is, okay, so for this week, this is showing a downward trend. RSI is below 50, so it's showing a bearish signal. It's kind of hard to see the MACD. Give me a second. Let me see what that looks like. However, the MACD is showing, now again, this is a very low slope, as you can see. It's almost like it wants to go flatlined. This MACD crossed right here. Oh, oops. Sorry. Draw. This crossed slightly right there, so it could be signaling that it's going to go upwards. With the MACD, I also didn't really talk about these histograms or these bar graphs, but that can help you determine it has had green. Is meaning it's good. Red meaning it's been sold. I just didn't go into more of the advanced stuff because I just want you guys to get a general idea of just seeing the lines. But let me go back to seeing. So if I were to draw my fib sequence, so my high to low, okay, so it's in a support range. However, I see, oops, well, I made the RSI really large without noticing. So this could be a signal to go long because it has entered a support area. So some things you may want to look at is have alerts or pay attention to if it hits 1809. 1809 may be a good entry point, or even 17.7. Check your RSI. If this RSI shoots down below 30 and then goes back up to 30, that's a good signal. If you see it passing your fib sequence, and then if the MACD is showing positive, then that would be a good entry point. So I would look at if it crosses that. If it passes the $18.39, this will likely go upwards, or actually it will go upwards. The MACD will start spreading across. So again, the MACD, it looks at 12 points of data versus 26. So if they're both cross and they're going upwards, that may be a good time to get in. Yeah, it kind of sucks you missed out at 1828 or even 1809. But I would rather let some of more of the computers do the trading, and then you just ride the wave. That's where a lot of traders do kind of get, they can get trapped. They're called trap trades, is they may think it's going to go in one direction. You know, you can't time the market, but if you get in at a lower price, that's great. But I would look at those 2 points. So you have a 30-cent range. I'm seeing Best Buy, Walmart. I don't know what CRM is. Let me see. I'm curious at CRM because let's take a look.
Salesforce.
Oh, okay. Okay. There's just, so many tickers. I don't know it all. I wish. Okay, so if I wanted to look at this, I'm going to still stay to the 1 hour. If you want to go further out, that can give you a better idea. So if I were to draw my fib sequence, so I'm going to take my super high. Now, here is a big thing right here. On the first, there were earnings. So that could be a sentiment change, meaning, with a lot of companies, either the big guys or the middle or the medium-sized wealth guys, they can hype a stock up and then drop it when earnings come out, or they can downgrade it and then, okay. So this will throw things off. So actually, I'm going to not draw my fib sequence for that. It's good to keep it so you can kind of see what's going on, but I'm going to actually remove that drawing. So this is a great example too, because so I'm going to take this low point and I'm going to take this high point. Now, why did I do that? Because there were some huge drops right here. But now I can see from after earnings, this is kind of where it's been trading. So what do I see? Okay, slope is going downwards. So we've got some price points. I can actually zoom in. Give me one moment. Oops. Let's do that. Okay, so I've got some price points to look at. So it's now going down. It's in a new zone. And look, it was in other zones for a little bit, but then there was a breakout. But now it's going back. So it's kind of in the middle of this zone right here. So I don't really know where this is at. MACD is showing me as of today, it has been going downwards. So this may be a short opportunity. It is bearish because of that 42. It's right at the cusp of at 50%. Because remember, it's 70-30, so in between is 50%. So, oh, oops. Yeah, I said that earlier. I drew from low to high on accident. Let me fix that. Sorry about that. There we go. Oops. Yeah, if you draw low to high, it reverses it. I don't know why it does that. Probably just some programming or some reason that I'm not really thinking about. So, okay, it's going downwards. MACD is telling me it's going down. RSI is telling me it's going down. Slope is telling me it's going down. So I may want to look at, okay, if it crosses the 22, this may be a good time that it hit the zone. Yeah, maybe short this. Again, I don't know what's going on with Salesforce. Yeah, Corey. Yeah, the way that you draw it, if you go from high to low, you can have a bull fib compared to bearish. I just look at it as it just draws your zones. The zones will be the same. It will still give you the same price points. It's just my colors will be reversed. That's why on the default, they're all just red. It's just that can give me a color just to see, okay, I see green, may want to look at this. So just looking at CRM. So we're at 7:06. So let's maybe just maybe if there are any questions, not maybe looking at the stock.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look to see if there's any other questions. I think they were mainly just other stocks. So I'm just going to thought 500 comments. Okay. Over Palantir, not turn out. Okay, Bollinger. Yeah, we haven't gone over Bollinger Bands. I think we're good as far as on questions, but at least maybe this could probably be a good, why are the colors, okay, we already went over that. But I think this is a good place to kind of stop and conclude things. Want to thank everyone for showing up. Hopefully you're able to learn. We'll certainly we did record the video. We'll post it on YouTube. Want to thank Chris, as always, for his time and his diligence in helping us out with this. So this is
thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you guys are unaware of, we have a PersonaFi application, which is going to be a supplement to the Facebook group. We looking to get more beta testers on there. We've been quiet on it for a few months after we launched the first beta test. But we've been making updates. We're working on an iOS version, which will be coming out sometime in 2021, early 2021. We also have a YouTube channel, a newsletter. If you want to support us, by all means, I feel like it's going to be very educational if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get more videos. Myself and Connor, mostly Chris, though.
Oh no, you guys are the backbone. I just confirm all your good stuff.
And then we also have a newsletter. It's $5.99 after this year. So just after December 31st, it goes up to $9.99. So first 2 weeks free. It just kind of calls out our plays, our picks, our options, something that Chris helps out with, Dan helps out with. I write as well. We have industry experience. We're not a crystal ball by any means. It's not bulletproof or impeccable, but it certainly kind of gives you an idea of what we see, how we're playing things, what are we buying, what are we selling. I think there's some good information when it comes to the economy, analysis on different stocks, and be able to add to your repertoire as far as ideas of how you can trade or invest, both short and long term. So, but want to thank once again everyone. Let's have a good rest of your holiday. Be safe out there and enjoy your week.
Yeah, happy holidays, guys. And if you have any questions, just DM me. The life of a day trader is not really a day trader; it's a 24-hour trader. So just if you have any questions, send me a message. I'll answer. Generally, I'm on some odd hours, so I can even respond to you at 3 a.m. or even noon. So again, it's Chris Haven, Haven, and I'm one of the moderators on there. So again, thank you again for having me. And any questions, just give me a holler.